Well, hello and welcome. Today I just want to show my RZ swap on my 85 4Runner and help out anyone else who is currently doing the swap or is looking into doing it to understand what is needed. So again, I have an RZ. This is out of 98 Tacoma. So it's the 2-coil. There's a few different types. There's a distributor type and then there's a coil over plug type. This is the 2-coil type. And so what I did first was those motor mounts are from toy only swaps, supposedly, and it's nice and level. The RZ does have an angle to it typically, but this reservoir right here is what determines if the motor's level or not. So anyway, these were great overall, really easy to put on, really nice welds, and it put the motor in nice and straight. It was really easy for me to put the motor in and take it out because at the time I had the body off of the frame and then I rebuilt the axles and everything. So anyway, so I did those motor mounts there. Since I already had a W56 automatic in this, it was really easy. No problem there. I did do this is the engine oil, obviously just to check the level. So this is the one that comes on it. Typically, it's right here, and then I just did, it's like a little pressed in fitting. Actually, you know what? I might have it right here. I'll show you. And so, yep, it was this right here, expansion plug, steel set that I put in there. And then I bought the new oil pan and oil level check from toy only swaps. So if you have a solid front axle, you don't need the toy only swap oil pan that has all the room underneath it for the IFS, but it just kind of gives you a little bit more room under there anyway. So again, W56 clutch and everything, and then engine oil. Nice and easy. And then I just like this little plug, that little expansion cleans it up. Because some of the guys, they just leave the other oil level checker just right here. All right, so also the other thing I did was I got this air box out of the same truck. And then I cut it. Took a lot of time cutting it and measuring it. And then I just did some panel bond of a piece of metal down below here, so panel bond on this and this. And I got some rubber bushings right here, so it sets on here nice and flush, fits into the hood, and it's pretty factory looking. So I had to cut quite a bit of that air box out for that 98 Tacoma, but overall nice factory look. Didn't have to extend this MAF wire at all. I did extend the hoses because I added probably another 2 inches or so. And then I did move this box back, the main fuse block box. So one of the things that was a little difficult for me when I started to wire all of this was the alternator and the starter. The alternator, so I did it all based off of the stock RZ wiring harness, essentially. So what you have on the alternator, you have your charge cable, which is this right here. That's your charge cable. And then you have your 3-plug, red, white, and yellow. So the charge cable cannot go straight to the battery. It needs to go, so the 85, at least my 85 body, the wiring goes from here all the way to the fusible link in that box. And then since my battery used to be over there, it would just go from there to the battery. So since move my battery over here, I just bought that same wire. ORS Off-Road Solutions, they offer that wire. So I bought that wire from the fuse block back to the battery here, and now here it is nice and clean onto the battery. So there's the charge wire. So again, from there in the body harness all the way back to the fuse block and then back to this battery. I don't know why that was so hard for me to understand at first, but I got it later. Then you can look right here. So those 3 wires, they were on the newer RZ motor. They were a lot thinner gauge, a lot skinnier than the older 85 alternator wires, which are really, really fat and I figured it's not a big deal. So like here's like these are the alternator wires from the 85. You see how thick that gauge they are. On the new RZ, they were all skinny like this. But I figured it's just because the newer alternator takes, uses less power going through them, so it's not an issue. So I just went ahead and just soldered them into the factory 85 body harness. Called it a day. Figured it was fine. We'll see if that's wrong. And then on the starter, you have a couple things. So you have your main starter positive to the battery right here, right? And then you have the starter trigger wire, which I just used off of the 85 body. Now, since I used it off the 85 body and just soldered it and hooked it up together, I had to use the factory 85 starter relay, which I didn't think I needed, and so I couldn't get it to work forever. Well, duh, it's because I need this relay, since I'm using the factory one as it is. And then also the negative right here just goes straight to your goes from your negative terminal to your engine block, just plugged in right there. So I don't know why that was so hard for me to figure out, and but I got to figure it out in the end. And you'll see I got a few other positive wires hanging off of here, and that's for the ORS off-road solutions. These go to the ECU, so you can see here positive, and then I just put the fuses right here, and then it runs back underneath the dash, so back into here underneath the dash to the off-road solutions wire harness, and then to the 2RZ, 3RZ ECU. And then essentially what I did, I knew there were a bunch of extra cables. I'm going to tie these up and keep them out of the weather. I just didn't want them cluttered up the engine bay at all, just hanging out. So anything that's unneeded, like the old MAF, and these are a lot of test wires and stuff, diagnostic wires, I believe. I just kind of tied them up over here because they won't be used at all. The next thing that was hard was this EVAP box off of the factory RZ. I'm keeping it just to try to keep check engine lights down, and I just like to not smell fuel all the time. So there were quite a few things online that showed pictures, but it never really explained to me which one was which. So first off, this hole here. So typically, by the way, just in case you're oriented different, it's usually oriented more like this. But anyway, so right here, this first hole, major one, this is what's called I think it's called like an air leak or an air vent or something like that, which in the factory RZ, it just went into the frame. I'm just going to dangle this down into the wheel well, call it a day. I think it's just, there's some air that goes in and out of it, not a big deal. And then this goes to your air box before the MAF. So this air box before the MAF. So if you have a cone filter or whatever, you just need to put it before the MAF somewhere. And then right here, this is the one I couldn't find for the life of me. This is your EVAP. So this goes, your gas tank vents into here. So it's this little hole right here. And then this one plugs into your air intake. Sorry, not your air intake, your intake manifold. So from there to your intake manifold. And then you have your different switches and stuff. I extended these wires from the factory harness over to here because I'm going to put this in this spot. Some guys put it here, some guys put it there. Whatever way floats your boat. I just wanted some space for hopefully I'll be able to keep my cruise control. I don't know if I will, but I want to keep a little space for my cruise control. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's just, I had a hard time with these these 4 big ports. I didn't know what the heck they were for. Figured it out, and we're good to go. Now this right here will run to my, to here for my brake booster. I did do a bigger brake booster out of a newer 4Runner to complement the larger brakes that I did on here when I rebuilt my axles. I ended up doing the slip-on rotors from the newer Tacoma. Now on the engine as well, I also did a EGR delete. So you can see right here, this is where the EGR would go. And then where all those coolant lines ran into the EGR, I just capped them. I don't think it'll cause an issue. Everything I could tell it wouldn't. Now the only reason why I deleted the EGR, I would have kept it. But you can see back here how little space there is. So the EGR deletion just made it a little bit easier. And then for the EGR plug, to not throw a code, there is a resistor that I'm putting in between here and there. I forget what ohms it is or whatever, but it's supposed to tell the engine that it's fine, and the ECU never throws a code. I use the throttle cable out of a 90s T100. Just saw it at the junkyard. Seemed about right. Put it in. It worked pretty well. I want to find a way to try to make it nice and strong so it doesn't flop around. And then here is the fuel regulator, right? So off of the fuel regulator, you have your fuel return line, which just kind of goes down in there. I did the same thing as my evap. I just ran 2 hoses because they're pretty much similar diameter. Flexible hoses because they're both low pressure. I mean, obviously this is just vapor. That's actual fuel, but it's low pressure. And so I ran them underneath the truck in tandem, nice and up and out of the way without any damage. Should come from them. And then what else? Oh yeah, so for my AC lines, I am going to run my AC. I just need to get these onto the factory 85 AC lines because these are different mounts. So I'm gotta get those made by a like a hose shop that's in town. I did get this high pressure line from ORS as well, and so it just goes from here to the power steering. I will eventually get away from my push-pull steering, but for now I got push-pull, and I'll do my other steering with the high steer with the 86 and newer steering box that's crossover steering. And then these hoses are nice and easy, just plug right in. I do have a newer radiator from a new 85, so it's a new 85 version of the radiator. And then if you do the RZ hoses, supposedly fit pretty good. I've tried it. There's a lot of crap to clearance. Again, this is not finished at all. It's just, it does start. And so because of that, I just want to show you some people what I did. And then I just kind of integrated the ORS harness that comes out of this side of the engine bay into here to protect with that grommet. You can see here, like I ran this, and then I ran a few other things over here on the side. It's like I believe that this is the, yeah. So there's a few different wires. Those instructions are very clear. I just had a hard time with some of the other ones that are a little bit more ambiguous. And then here's with the fuel line. So I got this from Off-Road Solutions as well. So it connects to the factory spot of the fuel line from the 22RE right there, where that blue is. And then I made this heat shield to try to protect everything. So I just did some thicker gauge metal with some shielding material just to protect it. And then I got hose clamps for all this stuff just so it's out of the way and not rubbing on anything, because it is a high pressure fuel line and that would be really bad if that broke. And just sprayed fuel all over a hot exhaust manifold. As you can see here, so this is the fuel tank. I had a hard time with this as well, just trying to see exactly what everything is. So this is your fuel return line. So it's this one that runs nice and low, fuel return line. The one that kind of comes up as an arc like this and is higher than your fuel return line, that is your evap. So that goes to your evap box right there. And then this is just your standard typical fuel line right there from your fuel pump. Fuel pump comes there, and then goes to regulator, and then it comes and it returns right here. And then this is just your vent. So nothing crazy there. Also, there is a blue wire that comes from the ORS harness into right here, and I just spliced it right before this connection because it's convenient. And later I can run like a kill switch or something on it to stop some theft. Anyway, it goes into here, and then that's what powers your fuel pump is right here, straight from the ECU. So I did have a hard time with this because I don't know what happened, but these relays got switched, and so it's causing me some non-start issues. So these relays with the ORS harness are really nice. They did a great job. It's just they were upside down. Now, I don't know how that happened, but obviously if they kind of run in sequence in a few ways. You can see here, like the power to the power. So I wasn't getting any power to the fuel pump. And so once I just sat there, started tearing everything apart, seeing where the power was going, I found, oh, hey, look, those relays, they were upside down. And so in that way, it wasn't triggering properly. Everything else is pretty simple on here. The instructions were pretty good on all this portion of it. You did have to jump one wire from the factory harness to the ORS harness. You can see right here. And just pumped it into there, nice and easy. And then I will clean all that up later. I just kind of barely got it to run right now, so I'm just really excited and happy. Haven't ran the exhaust yet, but plan is just to use, you know, just to go under and then just do a crossover underneath the transmission tunnel and then go out the correct side. So let's see. So just for fun, since we have this here right now, and again, this is not complete in any way, shape, or form. And once I'm done with all the engine and it's all buttoned up, then I gotta start working on body work on this thing. But just for fun, just want to show you that it does work. Let's see here. Nice and simple. She works. So I hope this video helps you out, that you can see it's not so hard and you can do it yourself. So anyway, thanks for watching.